Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. We continue our study of the book of Joshua, of the Sefer Yehoshua together. This is Saul Weinreb, the host of the podcast, and today we continue with chapter 11, Perek Yud Aleph. We read of more battles, more conquerings, more victories on the part of Yehoshua and the people of Israel against the Canaanite enemies. But there are some verses in this chapter 11 which I'm going to highlight, which I believe are very important. So let us begin. Vayehi, this is verse 1, chapter 11. Vayehi kishmoa yavin melech Chatzor. So, but basically, if you read carefully in the 10th chapter, the land which eventually became the central area of Judea, which is now Judea, southern Samaria, and all the way towards the coast, but not the coast itself, and until Gaza, but not necessarily Gaza itself, and down towards the south into the Negev, has now been conquered. But there's huge swaths of land to the north, which has not been conquered yet. So, and to the north and to the west towards the coast. So now these lands now are that have not been conquered yet are farther north and farther west. So Vayi kishmoa Yavin melech Chatzor, when Yavin, the king of the place called Chatzor, heard about what's going on, that all of these battles are being lost and the Israelites are conquering all these cities. Vayishlach el Yovav melech Madon ve'el melech Shomron ve'el melech Asaf, and he sent messages to the king of Madon, the king of Shimron, the king of Achsaf, and the other kings that were to the north of the mountain region, V'arava, and in the Arava region, which was Negev Kinrot, south of Kinneret, so south of the lake of Kinneret, which is farther north, so that region now, Ovashvela, and in the lowlands, Uvanafot Dor Miyam, and in the district of Dor, which is towards the sea. Dor is on the shores of the Mediterranean. So and more to the west. So again, the north areas to the north and to the west of where had been conquered already. Hakanaanimi Mizrach, and then also to the Canaanites that were in the eastern areas, Umiyam, that were in the western areas, Mori, Vachiti, Varprizi, Vayavusi, Bahar, and the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, and Jebusites that were up in the mountains, Vachivi Tachas Hermon, and the Chivi, which is in the area beneath the mountain of Hermon, which would put that in the modern-day Golan Heights region, Be'eretz HaMitzpah, in the land of Mitzpah. Vayetzu Uheim, and all of them, B'chol Machaneim, and all of their armies and camps, Imam went with them. Am Rav, a tremendous nation, Kachol Asher Svas Hayam, many soldiers like the sands at the shores of the sea, Larov. That's how many there were. V'sus v'rechav Rav Mod, and many horses and chariots of war went out with them. So this is a very large army. Vayivadu kol hamalachim ha'ela, they all gathered together, these kings, Vayavo'u, and they came by Achnu, and they camped yachtav together, El Meimarom, at the waters of Meirom, Lihilachim em Yisrael, in order to wage war against Israel. At this point, this sounds like a frightful and extremely large assemblage of enemies, and Yehoshua naturally would be concerned about what he's up against. So Vayomer Adonai el Yehoshua, God appeared to Joshua, Yehoshua, saying as follows: Al tiram mipneim, do not be afraid of them. Ki machor ka'es hazos, because tomorrow, by this time tomorrow, Anochi nosin es kulam chalal mivnei Yisrael, they will all be lying as war dead in front of the people of Israel. As suseim ta'aker, you should make their horses lame, viet markvoseim tesrof be'esh, and burn their chariots in flames. So all of their weapons of war you will destroy, and their soldiers you will kill. Yoshua made a surprise attacked them before this would be called a preemptive strike. They were massing for war, and Yoshua and the entire people, without delay, didn't wait to get attacked. They attacked first in a surprising manner. Vayiplu bahem, and they fell upon the enemy soldiers. Vayitneim Adonai b'yad Yisrael, and God placed them in the hands of the people of Israel. Vayakum, and they struck them. Vayudefum, and chased them as they retreated. Ad Sidon Rabbah, all the way to the great Sidon, which is up in modern Sunday southern Lebanon. So they chased them very far north. V'ad Misrefos Mayim, until the place called Misrefot Mayim. V'ad Bikat Mitzpah, until the valley of Mitzpah, which seems to be in the Mizrach on the east side, near the area of Golan Heights. Vayakum ad Bilti Yishulam Sarid, and they struck them until there wasn't anyone left of their armies. Vayaslam Yoshua, and Yoshua did to them Kasher Amar Adonai, as God commanded him. At Susehem Hiker, he made their horses lame. V'et Markvosem Saraf Ba'esh, and he burnt their chariots, so that these weapons of war should never again be able to be used against the people of Israel. So then, Vayashav Yoshua Ba'esehi, Joshua returned from this battle, Vayilkod es Chatzor, and he captured Chatzor, Viet Malka, and her king, Chika Bacharav, he struck down with sword, Ki Chatzor Lifanim, he Rosh Makal Malchos Eila, because Chatzor was formerly the leader of all the other ones. It was so he went back and attacked Chatzor. Vayaku es kol nefesh asher ba lefi cherev achirim, and he struck down all the lives in the town of Chatzor. Lo nosar kol neshama, no person was left alive. Es Chatzor Chatzorach ba'esh, and he burnt the city down in fire. V'yes, now at verse 12 now, v'yes kol orei hamlochim ha'ile, v'yes kol malchayim lochad Yoshua, v'yakim lefi cherev v'chrim mosam. All of the cities of all of the kings which had been destroyed in battle, he then turned towards those cities, and Joshua captured all of the various chiefs and kings that were in the towns, struck them down, destroyed them. Kasher tziva Moshe Eved Adonai, just like Moshe, the servant of God, had commanded should be done to the towns of the Canaanites who resist and do not make peace. This assertion that I've repeatedly made, that Yehoshua made offers of peace, we'll see in a moment that it's not just an assertion that I'm making, and it's not just written in the official instructions in the book of Deuteronomy that Yoshua was commanded to do so, but Yoshua himself did so, as we shall see in just a moment explicitly. However, the cities that were still standing on their mounds after they were emptied of enemies, the people didn't burn them down. So now they're no more longer burning the cities down, because they're going to populate those cities, except Chatzor, which was the big capital, that Yoshua did burn. And all of the booty, all of the belongings from these towns, and the animals, the people of Israel took them. Rak eskola Adam, however, all the people, they struck them down, until they were killed. Lo hishiru kol neshama, they did not leave anyone alive. Kasher tziva Adonai es Moshe Avdo, just like God commanded Moshe his servant, Kain tziva Moshe et Yoshua, so too Moshe commanded Joshua. V'chein asa Yoshua, and so did Yoshua do. Lo hisir davar mikol asher tziva Adonai es Moshe, he did not leave out anything that he had been commanded. Vayikach Yoshua et kol haaretz hazos, and Joshua took this entire land, Hahar, the mountains, V'eskol HaNegev, and the southern desert, based called Eretz HaGoshen, the land of Goshen, V'yat HaShvela, V'yat HaArava, the lowlands, and the Arava, V'yat Har Yisrael, Shvela, and the mountains of Israel and its coastal plains. Minahar Hachalak Ha'oleh Seir, from the Mount Chalak, which goes up towards Seir, which was populated by the nation of Edom, which was not part of the land of Israel, but from that mountain that goes towards Seir, V'ad Baal Gad B'Vikas HaLavon, until the Baal Gad, which is another place name, which is in the valley of Lebanon, Tachat Har Hermon, which is at the foot of the Mount Hermon mountain, which is the tall mountain that dominates the Golan Heights. He captured all of their kings and struck them down. These wars lasted for many, many days. This happened for a long period of time. This didn't happen until now. The first couple chapters all seemed to happen in a quick period of time, but all of this work that we're discussing now, all of these wars happened over time. And here's the key verse, 19. Lo ha'isa'ir, there wasn't one city, asher hishlima el b'nei Yisrael, that took the people's overtures of peace and made peace with the people of Israel. Bilti Hachivi Yoshvei Givon. The only ones were the sub-members of the Hivite tribe, who were the Givonites who we read about before, that dressed up and came. They were the only ones that made peace. So clearly, it's explicitly written here that the opportunity for peace was given everyone before the war. And each and every single one of these cities knew that if either they fight, in which case, if they lose, the result would be this devastation, but the opportunity to make peace they had. Everything was taken in war because no one made peace. So if anyone doubted what I had been saying all along, this chapter 11, verse 19, explicitly backs up what I've been saying this whole time and contradicts really what Rashi's understanding that this opportunity wasn't to be given to the people of Canaan. Because it was from God, that God made them stubborn. And here we have a very similar thing that we find by Pharaoh, that God made Pharaoh's heart stubborn in order to God made them stubborn, that they would rather fight a war against the Israelites in order to destroy them, so that they should have no a place to remain. Kileman hashmidam, because it was in order to destroy them. Kasher tziva Adonai es Moshe, like God commanded Moshe. Now, whenever it mentions that God makes someone stubborn, it seems that God is taking away their free will. Here, it doesn't mean it clearly, because if it was 100% taking away their free will, then why did the Givonites have the free will to do it? Apparently, they did have free will, but God, just as we don't understand God's ways, we don't understand these ways either. And when it states, the situation, every situation we have in this world, in a sense, is created by God, obviously, but God still allows us free will. So I'm not the big question of how this works, the philosophical question, I'm not going to get into, but I do want you to hear the verse, understand it, and think about how you would resolve that issue yourselves. Vayavo Yoshua be'esahi, Joshua came at that time, vayachres es ha'anokim min ha'ar, and he destroyed the giants that lived in this mountain, min Chevron, min Devir, min Hanov. These are places, Chevron, Devir, and Hanov. Apparently in the mountains there were giants, or people that were very large that lived there. And Joshua was able to defeat them as well. And Mikol Har Yehuda, and from all of the mountains of Judea, and Mikol Har Yisrael, and all of the mountains of Israel, Im Areim, together with the cities that they lived in, Hacharimam Yoshua destroyed them. Lo Nosar Anokim Eretz Bnei Yisrael, there were no longer left any of these people, these giants, who were left in the land of Israel, Rak Ba'aza, but there were some in Gaza, Begat Uva Ashdod Nishar, there were some left in those towns. Presumably this was a tribe of people who were genetically just very tall and large people, so therefore they were formidable foes. Of the giants in Gaza, we may encounter later on, not in the book of Joshua, but we'll get there, to the Goliath, Goliath, who was from that region, may have been one of these from one of these giant people. Vayikach Yoshua et kol haaretz, and Joshua took the entire land, kechol asher diber Adonai et Moshe, just like everything that God commanded Moshe. Vayitna Yoshua lanachal Yisrael, Joshua gave it as an inheritance to the people of Israel, kimach lekosam l'shivtehem, as they divided themselves up according to their tribes. V'ha'aretz shakta mimilchama, and the land was silent from war. In other words, so this was just a summary of Joshua's conquests over a long period of time. The verse tells us clearly that it's a long period of time, but doesn't go into exactly how long, but it was a long time. Anyway, thank you for studying chapter 11. Looking forward to studying chapter 12 and the rest of this book of Joshua together.